Hello all and welcome to All Red. With all these contract talks going on, I thought it would be important to maybe rank who is the most irreplaceable player at Liverpool. And I'm going to basically put together a top 5 most irreplaceable players at Liverpool, and then we can kind of have a discussion there about who we think should be at the top of that. And that might give us a little bit of, insight into who Liverpool should actually sign between, maybe 3 or 4 players that are rumored to have contract offers on their table. Because this is the channel that is Liverpool all the time. It's All Red. Please hit that like button and consider subscribing as we cover the absolute best club in the world. All right, let's get started with this, guys. Enough nonsense. Who is Mr. Irreplaceable at Liverpool? All right, coming in at number 5, it is Alexis McAllister. Now, he hasn't had the best of seasons according to his standards, but Alexis McAllister has been a very, very reliable player in our midfield this season. I think he has been solid. There's been a few games where he wasn't up to standard, but overall, Alexis McAllister is just a rock back there in the defensive midfield position there in the double pivot alongside Ryan Gravenberch, and he's been really solid. I think if Alexis McAllister was to go down, we would lose serious depth. He's one of those players that can just kind of be in there, can play every game. And even though he's got 2 different suspensions coming up because he hit 5 yellow cards in the Premier League and then 5 yellow cards in the Champions League. So he's not playing against Girona and he will not play in Liverpool's next Premier League game. That is, maybe a lack of self-control on his part, but I think it goes to show you that he's just played a lot of minutes for Liverpool in a very important position, and he's had to make those tactical fouls for Liverpool in both competitions. So Alexis McAllister has been big for Liverpool this season. I think if he were to go down, Liverpool would have some depth issues for sure. He's just a guy that eats up a lot of minutes, and he does it well. All right, next it's his partner in crime, Ryan Gravenberch. This guy, Ryan could be maybe a little bit higher on the list. But I think because you have McAllister, because you have Jones, and the same could be said for McAllister of why he's not further up the list, is we actually have 2 or 3 guys that could come in for Gravenberch. I don't think they'd be as good as him, which is why he's on this list. But you've got McAllister, you've got Endo, you've got Jones, and maybe even Szoboszlai could slot in there. And so you can kind of see how Liverpool has a decent core of midfielders right now. I think we'd all want another defensive midfielder for depth and maybe to come in alongside of Gravenberch so McAllister can push up further. But Gravenberch has been absolutely brilliant this season. He has been a revelation under Arne Slot, and he has been fantastic. If you watch him play, every game that I watched Ryan Gravenberch in, except for maybe that Newcastle game, he didn't play well. But every game, there's always the 2 or 3 moments where Gravenberch does that silky smooth turn or one of those nice long touches into space, and you're just like, oh, Ryan Gravenberch, so smooth. All right, let's move on. It's Ibrahima Konate. We saw what happens when Konate went down. Now, we didn't have Konate versus Madrid and City. But then we really saw where we really could have used Konate against an offense that we struggle against, historically in Newcastle. We were caught out many times on that, I guess it'd be our right side of the defense where Gomez and Kwanzaa played. And having somebody like Konate in there, I think could have stopped Newcastle from scoring maybe 2 times, 1 or 2 times, maybe all 3, I don't know. So Konate has been a very, very valuable piece. I think we've seen, against Newcastle specifically, when we do not have him in there, we are suspect at the back. Konate has been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant. And for some people to speculate and say that Konate has been as good, if not better, than Virgil van Dijk this season, that is insane because Van Dijk is just brilliant. So, all right, the final 2 guys. I think this is going to be a little controversial, and I want you to tell me what you think in the comments because at number 2, I've got Mohamed Salah. I know, it's crazy. Mohamed Salah. I can't say enough good things about him this season, okay? He's been absolutely brilliant. I think he has single-handedly gifted us, tens of 20s of worth of points across all competitions. Mohamed Salah is just there all the time, and he's always scoring and assisting. It's insane. I mean, he's probably going to break records this season if he keeps this up. But here's my deal, okay? Salah is fantastic. I mean, he is our best attacking player by far. Absolutely integral and has to be re-signed. I want that to be made very clear. He needs to be re-signed because Liverpool right now are very dependent on his goals and assists, and he's just been brilliant. I mean, you can just rely on him every single game so far this season under Arne Slot. Here's why he's not number one. Because I think Arne Slot, this is kind of on Arne Slot a little bit because, and not in a good way, Arne Slot I think prefers control and defensive control in particular. I think it was clear from the start of the season that Arne Slot wanted to build from the back. So he started with the defense. Let's shore up the defense. Let's control the game from the back. And then we're going to start working on how we facilitate in the midfield and then how our front three works together with the ball and tries to score goals. Mohamed Salah's been there the whole time doing what he does, sometimes on an island. But, I think about like, okay, what if Salah were to go down? Who could come in for him? Well, we've got Diaz, we've got Nunez, we've got, I'm not even going to say Chiesa because he's just not fit ever. Hopefully Jota's coming back. Szoboszlai can fit into that right wing. I think there are options. I think there are options behind Salah. Not as good, obviously, not even close. And he is very irreplaceable. But he's not number one because number one is Captain Virgil van Dijk. I thought the other day, I'm like, ooh, if Virgil van Dijk were to get like a big injury like he did years ago with Jordan Pickford. Sorry. Virgil van Dijk. If we were to lose Virg, number one, he's the captain. That'd be a huge loss. Number two, I mean, he is just the anchor for everything we do on the pitch. And I think even if we had Konate healthy, if you lose Van Dijk, I mean, you lose a massive, massive piece. And I know Salah scores all the goals and assists, but Virgil van Dijk is just that rock. And I think you could probably interchange Salah and Van Dijk, but honestly, guys, I think Van Dijk is just a little bit more valuable with just the role that he plays. I think he's got the most passes in the Premier League this season out of anybody. And that's how critical he is. The ball goes through him. Everything we do goes through him. And he's just been fantastic this season. So I've got a few honorable mentions. Caoimhin Kelleher has been pretty irreplaceable for us this season. And I think even for the remainder of the season, even if Alisson comes back, it's just good to know that Caoimhin Kelleher is there. And we have a fantastic, the world's best number two. Because I think he still is number two behind Alisson, but Alisson is breaking down and Kelleher is just there. He's solid. I put Trent on this list because Connor Bradley's injury kind of showed us how weak we are when those two are out. And so if Connor Bradley is able to come back and we have Trent, we have really, we have good depth on the right wing. But I think Trent is just I prefer Trent right now over anybody else if he's healthy. If everybody's healthy, I'm putting Trent Alexander-Arnold in at right back. I think when Connor Bradley's healthy and fully fit, then Trent is a little less irreplaceable because Connor Bradley's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We saw that against Real Madrid. Mbappe. Curtis Jones, I think, too, is getting into this category where, he hasn't played as much as McAllister, but when he is fit, Curtis Jones is fantastic. And there is some depth there that he provides, very valuable depth. Darwin Núñez, I know, guys, you're probably going to laugh at that. Darwin Núñez is getting a lot of hate after Newcastle. But without Darwin Núñez, what other striker do we have? I mean, yes, Luis Diaz, you could put Gakpo up there, but Darwin's come in after Jota's injury, and he's filled in some valuable minutes and played in some games where, maybe he's not scoring, but he's doing some valuable things. So I know, I want Darwin to score more. And I'm starting to wane on Darwin Núñez. I've always been a big fan of his, and I've always said, like, just wait, it's gonna happen. I'm not sure about that anymore, but I felt like before that Newcastle game, he was getting better and better. And we'll see. We need to give him another game or 2 or 3 to see if he can get out of that Newcastle funk that was just like, dude. But hey, not a lot of players played well for us in that game. So anyways, I want to know what you think. Please drop a comment below and let me know if you have a top 5 or who is your most irreplaceable player at Liverpool.
Yeah, of course.